Ever walk into work like ready to go, ready to crush the day,
Yeah.
and damn, some crazy thing just throws everything off.
Oh, yeah.
Like the internet goes down,
Ah, the
or a
worst.
shipment is totally delayed, or I don't know, whatever curveball the universe decides to throw at you.
Like, where did that come from?
Right. And it's those kinds of moments that really show you how well or how not well a business can keep things running.
For sure.
That's where this whole ISO 2230.2019 thing comes in.
Okay.
It's basically a guide for how to navigate all those crazy, unexpected events.
But like a roadmap for when things go sideways.
Exactly.
I like it.
And, our listeners are smart people.
Oh, yeah, the best.
They want to really understand stuff, but they don't have all day.
Right.
So today we're doing a deep dive into Clause 5 of ISO 22301.201 time.
Nice.
Think of it like a crash course on one super important part of how organizations get ready for anything.
Love it.
We're going to break it down step by step, like your own personal instructors.
Exactly. Guiding you through it.
Perfect. So Clause 5 is all about leadership.
Ooh, that's a big one.
It is. It basically says how important the leaders of an organization are for setting the tone and making sure everyone's ready if something happens.
Yeah, because without the people at the top really on board,
Yeah,
any plan can kind of fall apart.
absolutely.
It's like the captain of a ship, you know?
Right. They need to know what to do if there's a storm.
Exactly.
So let's jump into subclause 5.1, leadership and commitment.
Okay.
And right away, the standard says this isn't something you can just delegate,
Yeah.
It's the responsibility of top management, the folks at the very top.
The big bosses.
Exactly.
Got it.
And it's not enough for them to just say, oh, yeah, business continuity, that's important.
Right.
They have to show it in their actions, in their decisions.
Walk the walk?
Yes. So one of the first things the standard says is that leadership has to make sure that the business continuity management system,
Okay.
we'll call it the BCMS from now on,
Good plan.
that the BCMS is in line with the organization's big strategic goals.
Makes sense.
It can't be some separate thing that nobody really connects to the main mission.
Yeah, it's got to be part of the whole picture.
Right. Like everyone on a sports team working towards the same win.
I like that analogy because if business continuity is seen as like extra or something,
Yeah,
then it'll get ignored when resources are tight or when big decisions are being made.
exactly.
So the standard is saying leadership needs to build the BCMS, put it into action, and then keep it going strong as a core part of how the organization runs.
And speaking of keeping it going, that brings up the very real issue of resources.
Uh-oh, here comes the budget talk.
Well, it is important. The standard is clear that top management has to provide what the BCMS needs to function.
Makes sense.
We're talking about money, staff, technology,
Oh,
the whole 9 yards.
It's like you can't expect someone to build a house without giving them any wood or tools.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah,
You can't just have a plan. You have to be able to put it into action.
for sure.
And it's not just about stuff, it's about people too. Top management has to communicate why business continuity is important to everyone in the organization.
Right, so people get it.
Yes. People need to know why this matters and how what they do, their everyday work,
Yeah.
affects how resilient the whole company is.
So it's about building a whole mindset of being prepared, right?
Exactly. Where everyone is thinking about what could happen and not just treating it as some theoretical exercise.
Like a fire drill.
Yes. And part of that communication is also about making sure everyone understands what the BCMS actually requires of them, what they need to do.
Yeah, clarity is key.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because if people don't know what's expected,
Yeah,
then it's hard to get everyone on the same page
right.
and make the BCMS really work.
Okay, so everyone needs clear instructions.
Yes. And another important point, the standard says top management has to make sure the BCMS actually gets results.
So it's not just about ticking boxes.
No, it's about making sure it actually works in the real world and delivers that resilience we keep talking about.
So like testing it and making sure it holds up.
Exactly. It's one thing to have a plan on paper. It's another thing to know it'll work when you need it.
Okay, I'm with you.
Now, here's an interesting part. The standard says top management should be actively helping people to contribute to the BCMS.
Interesting.
It's not enough to just tell people what to do.
Right.
It's about creating an environment where people feel empowered to participate in keeping the business running smoothly.
So like a coach supporting their team, not just giving orders?
Yes, because you want everyone to be engaged and feel like they're part of the solution.
Makes sense.
And another big point in 5.1 is that top management has to be all about continual improvement.
Always getting better.
Right. The BCMS isn't a one-and-done thing. It's got to be reviewed, updated, improved as things change.
Like software updates.
Yes. And it's leadership's job to drive that process.
Got it.
And last but not least, in this section, the standard says top management needs to support other managers
Okay.
so they can show leadership on business continuity too in their own areas.
Yeah, so it's not just the CEO, but also the department heads and everyone else.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's about setting the tone from the top, but also empowering everyone to be a leader in their own way.
Like a chain reaction of leadership.
Exactly. Okay, so we've covered leadership's commitment.
With the foundation.
Right. Now let's move on to subclause 5.2, policy.
Policy time.
This is where that commitment becomes a little more concrete.
Okay.
We're talking about a business continuity policy.
Got it.
Think of it like the organization's official statement on how they're going to deal with disruptions.
So like their playbook.
Yes. And subclause 5.2.1 dives into how to make this policy.
Oh, okay.
And again, it's all on top management to not just create it, but to put it into practice and keep it up to date.
It can't just sit on a shelf.
No.
Hmm.
It's got to be a living document.
Makes sense.
The standard also says the policy should be a good fit for the organization, you know?
Right, different companies, different needs.
Exactly. A small local business is going to have a different policy than a huge international corporation. But the important thing is that it addresses their specific risks and needs.
Like a tailored suit.
I love it. And this policy is super important because it sets the framework for the business continuity objectives.
Okay.
So it's the foundation for the specific, measurable goals that the organization wants to achieve when it comes to resilience.
So the policy's the why, and then the objectives are the what.
Precisely. And the standard also requires that the policy includes a commitment to meet all the rules and regulations that apply to the organization.
Oh, yeah, that's important. Can't forget about the legal stuff.
No, you can't. It could be laws, industry rules, contracts, even what important stakeholders like customers expect.
And so it's about staying on the right side of the law, but also keeping everyone happy.
Exactly. And finally, the policy has to include a commitment to constantly improving the BCMS.
Always iterating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, business continuity isn't a one-time thing. It's a never-ending process.
How then?
Okay, so we've got the policy,
Yeah.
but that's only half the battle.
Uh-oh. What's the other half?
Subclause 5.2.2, which is all about communicating that policy.
Right. Got to spread the word.
Exactly. It's no good having a perfect policy if nobody knows about it.
Like a tree falling in the forest.
Yes. And the first thing is that the policy has to be documented.
Written down somewhere.
Yes. It can't just be a casual agreement. It has to be official and accessible.
So everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. It's like having the instruction manual for a really important piece of equipment. You got to have it written down.
Makes sense.
And this is a common thing in ISO standards. Having things documented just makes everything clear.
Yeah, no more he said, she said.
Right. And beyond just writing it down, the standard says the policy has to be communicated throughout the organization.
Everyone, from top to bottom.
Everyone,
Yeah.
from the CEO to the newest hire, everyone should know about the policy and how it relates to their job.
So think internal newsletters, team meetings, maybe even some training sessions.
Exactly. Got to use all the communication tools you have.
Okay, what about people outside the organization?
Good question. The standard says the policy should be available to interested parties, if it makes sense.
Interesting.
So depending on the organization, this could be customers, suppliers, regulators, anyone who has a stake in the organization being able to keep operating.
So like if I'm a customer and I want to know my supplier is going to be okay if something happens.
Exactly. It's about building trust and confidence.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right, we've covered commitment and policy, which brings us to subclause 5.3.
Yeah.
Roles, responsibilities, and authorities.
Ooh, getting into the nitty-gritty.
Yes. This is all about making sure it's super clear who is responsible for what within the BCMS.
So no one can say, oh, that wasn't my job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about taking ownership, no passing the buck.
I like it.
And the standard says top management has to assign specific responsibilities and give people the authority to do their jobs within the BCMS.
So you know who to call if something goes wrong.
Yes. And this helps avoid confusion and make sure everything runs smoothly.
Like a well-oiled machine.
I like it. And one of the key responsibilities is making sure the BCMS actually follows all the ISO 22301.2019 rules.
Right, someone's got to be the enforcer.
Exactly. It's like a quality control manager who makes sure the product meets the standards.
Makes sense.
And beyond just following the rules, someone also has to report on how well the BCMS is doing, back to top management.
So they know if it's working or not.
Exactly. This creates a feedback loop. So leadership knows what's going well and what needs to be improved.
Closing the loop.
Yes. And that reporting is so important because it keeps business continuity top of mind for leaders.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Right. And it gives them the info they need to make those improvements we talked about earlier.
Caught it.
So it all comes back to leadership's commitment.
Full circle.
Exactly. So to sum up our deep dive into Clause 5,
Yeah.
we've seen that leadership's role is absolutely crucial.
No doubt.
It's not enough to just talk about business continuity. They have to actively do something about it.
Right. Actions speak louder than words.
They have to commit, create a clear policy, communicate that policy, and make sure everyone knows what they're supposed to do.
So basically be the driving force behind the whole thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for you, dear listener, knowing this should give you some insight into how organizations really approach business continuity.
Yeah. Pay attention to what leadership is doing, not just what they're saying.
So here's something to think about.
Mm.
How do you think the actions, or maybe even the inaction of leadership, can show you how prepared an organization really is for those unexpected events?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. Have you ever seen a situation where strong leadership made all the difference?
Yeah.
Or where a lack of leadership made things worse?
Lots to think about.
It is. And if you're interested in learning more, we encourage you to check out the rest of ISO 22301.201.
Yeah, there's a lot more to discover.
Each clause builds on this foundation of leadership and goes into more detail about how to make business continuity management work.
Sounds like a plan.
So thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Clause 5. We hope you found it helpful.
See you next time.
Until then, keep thinking critically.